Hey everybody, welcome to the video. I'm Brandon Green. If you saw last week's video, you saw me paint this guy here, this penguin sort of creature. It's a penguin, but it's kind of my own species of penguin. It's based on an African penguin, but of course I changed a lot of stuff up. But since the video was so fast, it's really hard for people to dissect it and see what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And so this week I wanted to show you how I make the feather texture on here. This whole penguin was done with one brush, and that is the basic, let me grab a new layer here. That is the basic round brush that is in Photoshop. Okay, it's this brush here. Now I have mine set up to, it's a soft edge brush, so its hardness is 0. And then this pixel size is just the size of my brush. The only thing I really have set up on it is under transfer I have my opacity and my flow set to pen pressure. So the harder I push, the more opaque the line is. So that's the basic brush that I'm starting with here. This is the brush that I use by far the majority of the time when I paint. You know, I have all these other brushes. I don't even know where I got most of them. Some are my own creation, some are ones I found online, some are basic standard Photoshop brushes, some are, you know, I've downloaded them from other artists, a few of them, but almost every single one I've tweaked to just fit my own needs, and then saved that preset. And a lot of them I don't even know what they do. Sometimes I just save a brush because I think, oh, that's cool, like it's at least unique, so I'll save it, and if I don't use it after a while I end up deleting it. But this is my brush setup right now, but this one right here is the one I use the most often. Everybody asks about my pencil brush. This is the pencil brush I use for a lot of my sketching. It's an erodible tip pencil brush. It comes standard with Photoshop now. It didn't always. I think like CS4 it came out. But it's a number 9. Let me zoom in and show you what it does. So it just looks like a standard pencil. Like it looks, or a textured pencil. Like it's nice. And it flows really well. It doesn't get bogged down with the texture, which is what I really like. And I don't need to use that. I could easily sketch with a rounder brush. But this one is just kind of fun. Anyways, moving on. Feathers. So I'm going to use this round brush to create a feather brush that represents these like short feather textures. And to do that, we're going to have to tweak quite a bit over here in the brushes palette. So we grab our round brush and start at the top, and we'll just work our way down. I'm going to run the hardness up, not all the way, but I definitely don't want it to be super soft. I'm going to run the spacing out a little bit, and I'm going to squish it. I'm going to do something like that. It's around the 12, 16, something like that. Somewhere in that percentage is how flat I'm going to make this. Then I'm going to go shape dynamics. Size jitter, I do want size jitter. That just means with every little stamp of the brush as it goes along, that size is going to vary. So it won't be all uniform. I think control, I'll set it to pen pressure. That way you can see down here in the preview, it goes from small to thick to small. That just means with light pressure, it's going to be a really thin line. With hard pressure, it's going to get wider. Angle jitter. I think my angle jitter, I don't want it to be much, 1 or 2%. I think I'm only going to go with, I'll go with 2%. But the control, I'm going to set to direction. It's going to make that brush shape go the direction that I'm moving. So, which will make even more sense here once I do the next step, which is scattering. Okay, so I'm going to scatter it, which just, you can see in the preview, it just kind of scatters all the stamps, all the little stamps that the brush is making as you make your stroke. It's scattering them. Let's make it kind of wide for now. And then the count, I'm going to bring up the count quite a bit. Well, I say quite a bit. 1 or 2. 3. Okay, there you go. I don't want any texture, and I don't want dual brush. Color dynamics is up to you. Color dynamics you can use to, like, you can have a little color jitter in there. And then transfer, I'm going to leave the opacity and flow on pen pressure. That way, the lighter I push, the more see-through the brush stroke is. Okay, so that is my that's the feather brush. Okay, and actually I already have one created on here, but once you get that created, you get all your settings done. You just hit the new button. You can name it anything you want. I'm just gonna hit new. Okay, so now I'm gonna just create an ellipse over here. I'm gonna fill it with this like local color from the penguin, just for a base. Then we're gonna paint on top of it. We grab white. Oh yeah. So now that I have that saved, I'm just gonna grab my soft brush, like my standard brush. I'm gonna grab some white, and I want to mask that in. Sorry. Lock the transparency of it. Okay. I'm gonna just kind of create my basic form. Okay. Now the thing about feathers is you have this texture the whole way through. Okay, so now we're gonna go grab my brush. You have this texture the whole way through, as you can see on this penguin, but it's more noticeable. It's always gonna be a little more noticeable right in the transition area between light and dark. So right in like this area here, it's gonna be noticeable, and then down here it's gonna be more noticeable. The mid ground is gonna be noticeable. Like, it's gonna be all the way, but you just want to make sure you really pay attention to the transition areas. Okay, so make it a little bigger. Give it a test run or two. I'm actually gonna scatter this a little more. So that's kind of the thing about doing this, is it's never gonna be perfect for every situation. You're always gonna be constantly tweaking this. Okay, so just very light touch. See, I'm not even worrying about up here. I'm just kind of hitting this transition area, because that's where you're going to see this texture, where the light is kind of like just hitting some of the edges here. So that's actually pretty close. Subtlety is the key. I actually went a little heavy-handed on my penguin, almost just so you definitely see the texture. But I could definitely stand to go in and like tone this back, tone this down a little bit. But one thing you can do is lower the count and then really hit that transition area with just less. So like some of the feathers are getting hit a little more than others. You got some nice feathery circle there. But that's how I created this feather brush, and you can make your own tweaks and adjustments. You can go as heavy-handed or light as you want. You can definitely do your own thing. Just remember that you constantly have to be adjusting this. I mean, play around with these different variables, change them, play with them, experiment. That way you know how to handle a situation when you get to it. So experiment with it, play around with it, and that's how I made my feather brush with just a basic round brush. The other one that I did is this. Grab just a brush for pointing out stuff here. My pointer brush. This stuff right here. This little scattering stuff, like little splatter. So that was all made with a basic round brush as well, doing the same stuff. So let me just mask that into there. That'll work. So I take that basic round brush. Again, I want the hardness up a little bit, not all the way. I'm going to scatter it, not too much. I'm going to change the size control to pen pressure. And I'm actually going to just go into transfer and make more opacity jitter. Now, you can go in and tweak as much as you want here. I'm going to run the spacing down to just make it more of an actual shape rather than a bunch of dots. So that way it's less consistent. There's very little uniformity in nature. Okay. So for this little guy, I also went in and kind of the edges here, I wanted to look more like they were feathers, right? You don't want it to just look like Photoshop. And I don't know if I did it so much over here, but go in with just control the edges, make it match kind of your feather brush. And that will help just make it look like it's the actual feathers rather than just a black shape over your other drawing. Okay, then we're gonna add a little highlight to it. There we go. So that's it. That's how to adjust your brushes and make feather brushes from just a standard Photoshop brush, which is really cool that you have that much control with just a basic brush. You know, then you can get more advanced and actually create a little feather shape and do the same exact thing, except instead of starting with a round shape, you actually have a custom shape that can actually produce better results. But for a quick feather brush, this works pretty well. Okay, I hope that helps, and I hope that kind of explains some of the quick little snippets that you saw in last week's video. And you know, go out, make some brushes, have fun with it, experiment, and go draw, go paint, go sketch. You know, have fun. Have a good week. Please like the video if you did like it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. And thanks for watching. All right, you guys have a good week. Bye.